I just wish we had it in time to use against the Germans.
Since watching the Oppenheimer speech sequence, which attracted a lot of attention for how it made the movie feel like a horror film, I figured there are a ton of other genuinely terrifying moments in non-horror films. So I looked through my watched list, excluded the horror films, and sorted out all the movies from there that contained genuinely scary moments I would love to talk in a video. So here I am with a list of the top 15 that is filled with massive spoilers, so be sure before proceeding or just skip through the time spans.
Is your little girl okay?
It's under control.
Okay. Has she been in some kind of accident? Would you like me to phone someone?
I'll take care of it.
What's that you got there, honey?
Room is a 2015 American film that tells the story of a woman trapped inside a room with her son who had born there. When the kid turns 5 years old, the mother attempts to get his son out in the world.
Where do you think that old Nick gets our food?
From TV by magic.
There is no magic. What you see on TV, those are pictures of real things, of real people. It's real stuff.
The mother plays the trick of her son being sick to the guy who had trapped her years ago. Some days later, she plans to show him as dead, cover him in the carpet, and asks the man to let him out in the world, where she instructed the boy to roll out and ask for help from any person he would see first.
I'll take care of it.
The whole escape sequence is somewhat very scary. It is a thrilling scene that keeps you at the edge, but sometimes the genre thrill and horror overlap, and this is one such case.
God. Fucking bitch.
It made me scared while watching, increased my heartbeat, and made me afraid of something terrible happening. Altogether, the scene was also very beautiful, with the kid seeing the outside world for the first time and succeeding to carry out the plan, but without a doubt, the scene is scary and thrilling.
No. No.
Don't worry, I've sterilized everything. I really would have been a great doctor.
Insane.
You know what? I honestly don't think I am. I'll do this as quick as I can, okay?
Promising Young Woman tells the story of a woman being unsettled about her past traumatic event related to her friend's suicide and seeking revenge on those who had caused it. She investigates the incident herself, and in the end, when finds out the culprit, reaches out to them as dressed to kill.
What do you want, money? You blackmailing me?
I want you to tell me what you did.
However, what happens at the end is truly terrifying. Her plan fails to kill the culprit, and rather she gets murdered at the end. While the scene obviously is terrifying, the change of tone it had set by generally shocking everybody was the real source of horror. This is a Romanian film released in the year of 2007 and won the Palme d'Or. It tells the story of a woman who will help her friend to have an illegal abortion in the time of 1980s Romania. And after going through a terrible, no good, very bad series of events, they finally succeed. And the final job remains to get rid of the fetus, which is such a meticulously intense scene that has a certain kind of emotion. The simple walk through the street with the fetus getting passed in a witness and finally dropping it in the bin is a kind of horrifying scene that no movie ever portrayed quite like this. This is an amazing film that doesn't deliver any one-sided message but only reflects reality in a near perfectly realistic way. This film is based on the true story of a mountain climber who had been trapped in an isolated canyon for 127 hours after his hand gets caught under a boulder. In the end, after all the tries go in vain, he cuts himself out of the canyon. The whole scene is very disturbing, and as I had watched in a YouTube analysis, the use of sound here is outstanding. The sound design puts you in the place of the guy, the cutting of the vein and then breaking of the bone. It's also terrifying and unsettling that you have to sit through and watch, knowing it had happened in real life. Burning is a 2018 Korean thriller about an introverted guy who bumps into a woman who used to be his neighbor growing up. They develop a connection and then the woman leaves for Africa for a trip, leaving the guy to look after her cat. After returning, the girl brings in a guy who seems very formal yet mysterious to our main guy. The trio emerges in a friendship and the new guy expresses to our main character he has a passion for burning down abandoned greenhouses.
난 비닐하우스를 태우는 취미가 있어요. 들판에 버려진 낡은 비닐하우스 하나를 골라 태우는 거예요.
Later in the movie, the woman goes missing and our main character tries to find her, but everything goes in vain. He starts to follow the mysterious guy and one day at his home, he finds some of the belongings of the woman along with many other stuff from other women. What's the scariest though is at the end of the movie, the guy calls him to an abandoned place and stabs him to death.
혜미는 어디 있어요? 혜미하고 같이 보자면서요. 혜미 같이 안 왔어요.
This scene is what chills me the most for how well it's executed that it feels so realistic. The camera work for the entire film, the performance of both the actors and the aftermath. This is some genuinely horrific scene from a non-horror film that stays with its audience long after it ends. The previous year, the German film All Quiet on the Western Front won multiple awards and gathered attention. The film, regardless to say, is a horrifying portrayal of war. It centers on a young soldier who has to experience an unbearable journey coming from a place where he had no idea of what was to happen. In one of the scenes, he encounters an enemy soldier in the mud face to face and they both have to fight for their lives. In the end, although he wins, but at what cost? In the opening scene of the 2007 film directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, we see the main character Daniel Plainview, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, constantly exhumating the ground. He is seen to be working day and night until he sees any trace of oil, and when he finds the oil, he adds more people and grows his business. In the meantime, one of his workers dies in an accident and he had a kid. Later, Daniel adopts the kid and embarks on a bigger journey. Overall, this montage of introduction to Daniel's rich life is so well constructed with the creepy background score, it feels kind of haunting. High Life for me is an immensely underrated film. The whole movie feels like a supernatural horror film that scared me from the core. The story here is of a group of criminals who are sent for a mission in space far away from the solar system. In the insanely isolated place, they try and battle to lead a normal life. However, they barely can. As you see in one of the scenes, Boy is a young woman played by Mia Goth, tries to go out illegally by taking a spaceship but accidentally comes across a molecular cloud that ends up killing her. Not only the visuals are so powerful, but how it shows the outcome of her face blowing up is genuinely uncanny.
2 green, 1 red. We do not have a shot.
OSS, I need eyes on.
Sir, they're gonna shoot him.
Captain Phillips is probably one of the most engrossing thrillers I have ever seen that kept me on the edge for most of its runtime. The film is based on the true story of the 2009 hijack of an American cargo ship where the pirates had abducted the captain of the ship into a lifeboat. At the final moment of the film, when the rescue team arrives to protect Captain Phillips, they arrive in a life-death situation for him, where they have to kill 3 of the pirates in one single shot in order to save the captain from getting killed. Therefore, the pirates have to arrive in one single line for the shot, which is so scarce, and at the same time they are panicking and about to shoot the captain anytime. The whole film is tense, but this is the climatic moment that went so rigid, and I would definitely consider this an intensely scary movie scene.
Roger, stop the tow.
Execute.
Du, aufstehen! Hoch! Werft ihn raus!
In one of the many horrifying scenes from the 2002 Palme d'Or winning film The Pianist is when the family of our protagonist witnesses for the first time where they are heading. The Pianist is the true story of a Polish pianist in the time of the Nazi occupation of the Jews in Warsaw. His whole family was separated. Jews were taken to concentration camps or killed. One night, he and his family witnessed Nazis raiding the apartment in front of them. They look through the window and see some argument that stays peaceful until one of the officers asks the other to throw the old man in a wheelchair out of the window, and eventually the people of the whole building are evicted. Later, a lot of tyranny is reflected in the movie by the Nazis, but this introduction was no short of a sheer horror that truly gives the chills considering it's real.
Yes, sir. I got it under control.
Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men is terrifying for the entire movie, but nothing surpasses his fast kill. After getting arrested in the opening scene, he later chokes the officer at the station with his handcuff. The scariest thing about this scene is Javier Bardem's face. The whole film is scary, but this is kinda chilling, you gotta admit.
My fucking arm!
Just hang the fucking
No, man!
Somebody fucking help us!
Requiem for a Dream tells the story of 4 people whose dreams are shattered once they get extremely addicted to drugs. At the near end of the movie, things go so out of hand that every one of these characters has to go through some terrible events. One of them loses their hand, one prostitutes themselves for the money, one gets arrested, and the other old woman gets forced to go through electroshock treatment. And combining all these extreme moments is so uniquely directed with a haunting piece of music that it nearly turns into a horror experience. The people who know will know. Gaspar Noé's Irreversible is one of the most disturbing films of all time, particularly for the scene in the subway. The film mainly centers on the specific moment when the character of Alex, played by Monica Bellucci, takes the underpass to cross the street and meets with the most destructive event of her life. She gets brutally raped and abused by a man there. Usually the specificness of this scene is Gaspar Noé shoots it in real time, and this brutal moment goes on for 9 minutes. While this is terribly disturbing, it is undeniably realistic, which makes it such a horror of a scene.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Now, was I rushing or was I dragging?
Directed by Damien Chazelle, Whiplash is the story of a young boy named Andrew who wants to be one of the greatest drummers in the world and gets into the best music school waiting to get noticed by the best music teacher. Eventually he gets only very strict at first, but soon enough Andrew comes to realize his abusive nature. One day at the practice, when he just can't meet his expectations, he asks him to keep trying until he throws a chair at his head.
Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
I don't know.
Sure you do.
The tempo?
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
Then begins the terrifying introspection of whether he was rushing or dragging, which he had no idea of. J.K. Simmons' performance here is so unique that you genuinely feel the fear by placing yourself as Andrew.
If you deliberately sabotage my band, I will fuck you like a pig. Now, are you a rusher, or are you a dragger, or are you gonna be on my fucking time?
The constant questioning that you have no answers to, and then the fear of what is to come next. This is a genuinely terrifying scene, flawlessly written and performed.
Play the goddamn kit! Now answer my question. Were you rushing or were you dragging? Answer!
It's not a problem. They're just down in the basement. Not many people have basements in California. I do.
Based on the real-life serial killing between 1968 and 1983 in Northern California, where the killer is popularly known as the Zodiac Killer, the film centers on the investigation that took place to find the killer. An amateur detective named Robert Gray Smith, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, gets obsessed with the case, and eventually by following the lead, he reaches his first suspect, where he is entrapped between a matter of life and death.
Handwriting is the closest that we have ever come to a match. Rick didn't draw any posters. No, he drew this one. Mr. Graysmith, I do the posters myself. It's my handwriting.
While he reaches the person by following the lead of a poster, the man asks him to follow him to the basement, where down there not only there is a constant fear of something drastic happening, Robert hears footsteps from above.
Are you sure there's nobody else in the house? Would you like to go upstairs and check? No.
This is a genuinely terrifying scene that I think a lot of people will agree that it's one of the scariest scenes from a non-horror film. I mean, the performance by Jake Gyllenhaal is beyond brilliant. He reflects the real fear. Also, the direction and use of camera work is splendid. Also, when the guy turns off the light when things go really tense is something to be afraid of.
It's locked.
So that was the video. Thanks for watching, and check some other videos out of this channel, and that's all. Keep watching movies.